You want me to put that on my todger?
This One's Wife. German exposure. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. What is it that narcissists don't like? Well, it's a threat to control, but most narcissists aren't aware of what they are, and similarly, therefore, don't realise that it is that threat to control which causes them a problem. It manifests more for them in respect of someone ending a relationship. They won't like that. The fact that somebody ignores them, they won't like that. The fact that somebody doesn't invite them to an event, they won't like that. Those are all differing threats to control. The failure to make the narcissist a cup of tea when you've made yourself one is a threat to control. The failure to compliment the narcissist when they're wearing a new outfit is a threat to control. Asking the narcissist, "Where have you been?" is a threat to control, because it's asking a question of the narcissist. Who are you to keep tabs on what the narcissist is up to? Criticizing the narcissist in some shape or form threatens control. Many things that you do, often inadvertently, threaten that inherent need for control that the narcissist has. The narcissist is hypersensitive to the issue of control as a consequence of having been created in the crucible of a genetic predisposition towards narcissism allied with a lack of control environment. Thus, the narcissist has that hypersensitivity so that the narcissist picks up on the barest, the most slight threat to control and reacts strongly to it, driven by the reaction of their narcissism by way of cold or heated fury. But one of the things that the narcissist cannot stand is exposure. The exposure of the narcissist's underhand chicanery to the wider world, which suggests this person is not a good person, this person is a liar, this person is deceitful, this person is on the take, this person is a grifter. Exposure of the narcissist is particularly problematic. Now, in instances where you expose the narcissist's behavior to other people, it often leads to a complication for you, because the narcissist will then go on the attack against you, quite possibly hoovering you, stating, "Why are you telling lies about me?" and invariably increasing their own smearing of you. And invariably, it isn't such a good idea to expose the narcissist to other people, because it contravenes a no-contact regime. It invites the narcissist to turn their attention to you once again, with potentially unpleasant and adverse consequences. Some people won't accept the exposure because they have been brainwashed by the narcissist to believe you're the problem and that the narcissist is actually the victim. Some people simply aren't interested because they are trying to get through life, and there'll be others that will believe you. Exposure, of course, is problematic for the narcissist because it amounts to a threat to control. But a common or garden exposure, if I can call it that, ultimately doesn't really get you anywhere. Why is that? Well, you lack the means to do it on a huge scale. You might put something on social media. You might go around telling a few people about what the narcissist has done. And of course, the narcissist won't like it. But ultimately, you'll find yourself getting frustrated because there'll be people who'll be like, "Yeah, well, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Well, I'm not sure that's right." And you spend too much time trying to convince them of the unpleasantness of the narcissist, which means you remain invested, keeping your emotional thinking high and drawing the attention of the narcissist onto you, when in actual fact, you should have just implemented a total no-contact regime and moved on. Naturally, it's highly tempting to want to expose the narcissist's behavior because, as an empathic truth seeker, you want people to know the truth of the way this person has behaved. But on a sort of local level, a common or garden exposure isn't really something that you should be aiming for, and I've explained in separate videos in much greater detail why that is. I've just given you a short précis there. However, when it comes to somebody who is internationally infamous, globally well known, invariably their exposure occurs as a consequence of a media vehicle being able to do it. Contrasting with an individual who has limited scope, limited access to media, limited funds to bring about a wholesale exposure, somebody who is very well known means that news agencies will be interested in this exposure and may well report on it. Not just one, but many of them. And then that translates into commentary, observation, speculation on social media, and thus it snowballs. And that's the problem for a narcissist such as this one's wife, that because she has such international prominence, there is a risk that certain bodies that have the reach, that have the weight, that have the gravitas to expose her could do so, and plenty of people will know about it. It's not just your circle of friends and a few people at the narcissist workplace who get to hear about the shenanigans of what the narcissist has been up to, but rather millions upon millions of people around the world. Thus, for a narcissist such as this one's wife, exposure by media outlets is hugely problematic and amounts to a massive threat to control. This is often why narcissists resort to legal means to try and shut that down. Often newspapers will give advance notice of stories that they're going to run, and in such circumstances, certain individuals will then go to the law to seek an injunction to stop its publication. In other instances, the narcissist may well look to trade favours to try and prevent the story being released. But where it is, it's done on a scope and with scale that is hugely problematic for that narcissist because millions get to hear about it. Many news agencies report upon it, and as I mentioned, it then gets reported in social media and continues to amplify and echo. There is a significant threat of exposure for this one's wife. Many of you, of course, wonder why is it that mainstream media hasn't touched upon things such as the allegations about her being a yacht girl, the allegations about her using a moon bump, the allegations that she didn't give birth to Archie and Lilibet. And I can see from the emails that I receive from people and comments around on YouTube videos, etc., the frustration that people experience that why isn't it that mainstream media is tackling those stories? Surely there's an investigative journalist that can get to the bottom of that and other suspicious activity on the part of the Sussexes. Various theories are advanced in relation to super injunctions, for instance, or a general fear of being sued. The presence of an alleged super injunction or being sued isn't relevant with regard to a new documentary that is in the offing in relation to this one's wife, which poses a huge problem for her. Molly Quirk, writing in the Mirror, explains Prince Harry and this one's wife could have bombshells exposed in upcoming documentary. Prince Harry and this one's wife are set to have new bombshells unveiled about them in a new German documentary. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are set to be the focus of a new documentary. The show, which could unveil fresh secrets about them, has been unveiled by a German TV production company. Journalist and royal expert Ulrich Grunwald will head up the documentary, with the show produced for Germany's ZDF network, whom Ulrich has worked with on royal shows in the past. According to reports, Ulrich is said to have travelled to California with a team of 5 people to investigate Monty's shit show and gather insights from the neighbourhood where the couple resides with their 2 children. According to reports, there are a selection of experts and journalists interviewed in the interview. How unusual to interview in an interview, including former Fleet Street Royal reporter Richard Minniards. In his latest column, Richard wrote, Los Angeles-based producer Melanie Hillman grilled me for 2 hours on my Riven Rock neighbours, Prince Harry and this one's wife, under director Ulrich Grunwald. The interview is airing in due course as part of a prime-time documentary on ZDF Royal. Ulrich has worked on several royal-themed documentaries in the past, In 2009, she worked on the Windsors. In 2015, she worked on the Queen. And in the same year, she also worked on a TV show called How German is the Queen? In 2020, she worked on Man Fergie, The Duchess and the Secret of the Windsors. And in 2021, she worked on Princess Diana's Dangerous Legacy and The Queen and the Power of Images. The skilled journalist and documentary maker even caught up with Prince Harry in Dusseldorf at the Invictus Games last September. At the time, she noted, "Now that this one's wife is here, he's over the moon. They have been holding hands, cheering competitors on at various matches and games. They seem intimate and very close. Either that, or they are very good actors." Thus, there is a German documentary in the pipeline. No clue is given as to when it might appear, and it evidently involves them having gone to Monty Shit Show. Have they been mooching around to see what they could see? Have they been peering over the garden fence to see if the children exist? Have they been trying out several of the 43,000 flushing toilets? Well, only time will tell. It could be a damp squib, of course, that doesn't tell us anything more than we already knew. It doesn't sound like it's going to be some kind of soft soap piece, but will have a degree of objectiveness. But there is the potential there for exposure. Quite what it'll expose, who knows, and we will have to wait and find out. But exposure, whatever it might be, does form a threat to control for this one's wife, and she will not welcome it. She does not want people prying into her business. Now, there'll be some who say, well, she is entitled to privacy. But the fact is, when you're a public figure as she is, it comes with the territory that people are going to ask questions about you. And, in relation to this one's wife, with what should be described as perhaps a somewhat potted past, there are more questions that would be asked of her than there might be asked of other people. Given the various revisions of history, the various contradictions, certain things that just don't stack up, there are plenty of things that this one's wife could be exposed for. It isn't the case that she'll be sat there worrying, oh, are they going to expose the fact that I was a yacht girl? She doesn't function like that. She would only be concerned about that once the specific allegation came about. What she will be reacting to is the general suggestion of exposure and bombshells and secrets being revealed. That threatens her need for control, and she will react against it. Undoubtedly, doing so by way of a pity play, suggesting that it's unfair and unpleasant for them to be prying and snooping. But of course, it demonstrates the double standards of the narcissist, whereby she is allowed to put whatever she wants into the public domain, whether it's accurate or not. But the moment that you start to ask her questions about it, well, that makes you a hater and you're not allowed to do it. She will certainly not be welcoming this exposure because it amounts to a huge threat to her control, but we will have to wait and see precisely what it is going to reveal, and in due course, I will naturally be commenting upon that, the impact upon her, and what her response will be. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.